important for us to be able to learn and teach open water skills. A couple of different activities that you might be able to do or alter what you do, and then look at a bit of a program that we trialled over the summer holidays in the start of this year, which seems now like a long time away, or long time ago, shall I say. If you do have any questions at any point, please pop them into the chat bar. I'm really happy to share them with or answer them, or the team will do it for you as well. But I really encourage you to think about for yourself what you can take away. Critically think about what you're doing and can you adapt or change or extend upon the brilliant stuff that you're currently doing. So hopefully this session will be a really good, worthwhile tip and add some tools to your belt. So I thought we might start off and talk about what is an open waterway and why learning about open waterways is so important. So basically, if we're looking at open waterways, they are water bodies which are openly accessible to everyone. And they're commonly naturally occurring, like rivers or beaches, streams, creeks, and also can be human-made. So an example of that one may be a reservoir or a dam, irrigation channels or troughs as well. And many factors make these environments more risky compared to the closed waterways such as pools or even your backyard pool. These waterways, for many of us, can be unfamiliar. They may be where we recreate or holiday, not often. So we may go on a yearly holiday to the Murray River, and each year we may see that water environment change. And often it may not be that we're expecting to enter the river as well. So if you're looking at this graph here, I thought it was very, very interesting to see that. So this has been taken from our National Drowning Report, and it shows that 79% of those who are unfortunately drowning in Australia are drowning in open waterways. So that is looking at beaches, that is looking at rivers and creeks, and also lakes and dams. And unfortunately, 4 out of 5 people drowning in these environments is just way too many. So we're doing some great work in regards to our more predictable waterways, which is swimming pools. But now we really need to have a look and see what we can do. And as swimming teachers, we've got a great responsibility to get our young people more skilled to learn about these open waterways. The activities that people were doing while they did drown showed that, again, a lot of them weren't expecting to be entering the water at all. So 36 fell in. We also have a number that I'm sure were boating and weren't expecting to be in the water after that. And that's something that often we forget about, that you may not be a confident swimmer, or the children may be young, so we're not going in the water, but sometimes it's unavoidable. So we need to always think about what are the skills that we can do when we're teaching and educating our swimming participants, how they can get themselves out of danger in those situations. So I want you to have a think about, and I'll allow you a couple of moments to do this, and I'll give you a couple of starting questions for you to do this. So how well do we do this as swimming teachers, either collectively within the team that we work with, or it could be yourself. You know, how well do you do this? Have a think about someone that may teach open water skills really, really well. And then have a think about, as an industry, how we do this as well. So have you ever visited any other swimming programs or swim schools and seen something amazing that is taking place? So for me, when I was actively teaching, it was such an important thing that I embedded within my programs and made sure that every single week, it could have been me talking and teaching backstroke, but I tell you what, we were kicking away from a boat that may have been on fire on our backs, or we were looking at, swimming the length of a pool for some beginner kids. And it was them being able to know that they could stop, float, and then keep going, and they could breathe all the time. So have a think about Water Safety Week is a really common one, and you might at your facility do this on a quarterly basis or on an annual basis or somewhere in between. You may have really strong water safety principles embedded into your curriculum, or you may not. And you may be super, super confident in teaching this yourselves. Or I'll challenge you, are you as confident as what you think? Certainly, I've seen a number of teachers come through different programs that have some amazing pockets of information, and that may be because of their background, that they are go boating quite regularly, that they may have done nippers themselves as a young person on the beach, or they may not have much understanding at all of the of different open waterways. So that's why it's important for us to continue our learning and just beyond the swimming teacher course that we may have done. So what I want you to have a think about, and I'm going to give you 5 seconds to do it, is think, do you confidently know how to teach about numerous different open waterways in your swimming program? So that's a yes, no, or a maybe. And any of those answers is fine. So yes, no, and maybe is great, because what you've just done is identify where you're at and where some really exciting challenges and opportunities lie for you, not only for your pool of resources that you have and what you can bring to your swimming program, but also what you can offer to potential other colleagues that you have. So Jen, I believe, is going to put in the comment section here some links to some great resources that you can go and search and start your open water learning journey with. So a couple that I believe are being put in are the survival swimming program. So this was the 5 and 10 day swimming program. Location fact sheets about different aquatic environments that are available through Royal Lifesaving Australia, and also different activities that you can do. As an example, work with life jackets. Another really great way to be able to understand is jumping onto YouTube, and I'm going to show you a couple of clips throughout today of some different water environments. When I was starting out, I didn't really understand rips, and I would say it was not until I'd probably been teaching for about 4 years, unfortunately, that I really got a good understanding of what they are. So if you have a think about all the students that I would have actively taught between that 1 and 4 year mark that I didn't really understand it myself, I could have done so much more as a teacher to be able to pass on that knowledge. So again, I'm really challenging you today to do some further research, and we're going to show a couple of examples in a moment. So on the screen, you'll be able to see a rescue safety sort of fact sheet. And this is a link for you to understand rescues a little bit better. So how can you teach self-preservation? How can you teach how to actually rescue them? And it's not by grabbing a kickboard and throwing it out and calling for help. And so that's what we'll continue to dive into in a minute by digging into rescues a little bit deeper. So I'm just going to play a little bit of, 2 YouTube videos, one that's going to focus on rip currents. I would say one of the most hardest things to actually explain and teach our young people. And the other one is actually looking at currents in an inland riverway. So just bear with me while I bring them up. And I hope I have enabled sound. So if I haven't, I would like someone to let me know, please.
Hi there. I'm Michael and I'm a lifeguard down here at this beach. Take a look around. It's beautiful, isn't it? But did you know one of the most common hazards that is found at the beach is a rip current? And not only do they occur at surf beaches like this one, they can also happen in the bay. But all a rip current is a narrow channel of fast-moving water that heads out to sea. So do you think you could spot one? Do you know what one looks like? Take a look around. Can you see one here today? Let's head on down to the water's edge so that we can get a better look. Now that we're down closer to the water, it's a really good time for us to decide where the safest place to swim is. And it's also time to see if we can spot a rip current in the area. Take a look around. Can you see a rip current today? What about just over here? Can you see how there's a deeper, darker colour to the water over on that side? And that there's waves breaking on either side? If you look really closely, you might even be able to see that there's little bits of seaweed that are getting carried away from shore. In other rips, you might see a rippled appearance, or maybe the water is sandy and churned up. But now that we've spotted the rip over here, we know that that's not the safest place to swim. So where would you swim today? What about over this side, where you can see lots of waves and white water? Anytime that you come down to the beach, the best way to avoid a rip is to make sure that you swim between the red and yellow flags. But if you do come to the beach on a day where there isn't a patrol, you need to do what we've just done and make sure that you know how to spot and avoid a rip current.
Rivers, creeks, lakes and dams are great places to chill out, cool down and have a good time. But it's important to remember that there are many hidden dangers, such as submerged objects. Always check for any warning or safety signs around the area. Look before you leap and always check the depth before you jump in or dive in. Conditions can change quickly. Remember, what's safe in the morning can be dangerous by the afternoon. It's also important to check the flood warnings, especially if there's been any rain or heavy storms in recent times. For more information on safety and warning signs, please download the Victorian Water Safety Guide app.
Okay, so I hope everyone was able to hear that those two videos well enough. So some really great resources there that that you can use. You can also share with your students, or have a think about how you may be able to take the learning that you have just done for yourself and put that into the pool environment. So I can think of some really great activities that I know are not new within the industry. So if we take an example of an activity where we may be doing a simple whirlpool, so we've got our students running around and within there we actually might put some balls. So you know those really light plastic balls that often are used within infant classes, and get them to see how they move. But instead of just putting it in there and go, oh, look at them move, get them to have a think about what environment they're in. So set the scene, as an example might be. Today, we are going to go to the beach and we've got our bucket to build a sandcastle with and our, your shovel to put it in. And we're on the edge of the water, and with that, we're putting it in. However, the tide is coming in and that equipment gets swept up. Have a think about and get them to explain to you where that might go. Where might the equipment be? And then you can also get them to feel the water as they're being moved with it as well. So the two pictures that you can see on the screen are children that typically wouldn't be doing swimming lessons in a toddler pool. However, these pools are amazing to be able to create and simulate entering the water. So understanding how the water feels under their legs and how they may, you know, interact with it in a different environment. As an example, running into the beach. So they'll often get tripped up if they keep running because their legs can't move through the water as quickly as they can on land. And using that to then create some turbulent water, some currents, and also that whirlpool effect that can happen as well. So if we're having a look at the safety and how to prepare our students to make sure that they're being exercising smart decisions in knowing where is safe to be able to swim in an open water environment. There are a couple of things that, again, I'm going to say as a new teacher, I was really unaware of. I didn't know the importance of signage and educating our students in the importance of the signage at open water locations. These are at every single location, or should be at every single location. I know in a lot of new housing estates, if there is a river or a creek running through, there is signage like this in those environments. So here we've got 3 different inland waterways. One is here in Melbourne. So this is part of the Yarra River. And you can see there is some fast flowing currents. There is a lot of submerged objects, so some rocks here that we can't see, but because of the white water and the rapids that are running over it, you can. However, that photo was taken at a time where it was in February. So imagine this photo potentially being taken now. I would challenge that this waterway would not look the same. And that's a really important thing to be educating your students in, is knowing the different dangers that can change across the year. So a number of these rocks would now be submerged and would now be an increased hazard and risk for someone potentially thinking that an area might be safe and just entering the water in quite quickly. We also have a image here. Now, kudos to anyone that knows where this might be, but this is actually in the middle of Australia. So this is in the McDonnell Ranges. Again, this photo was taken, I think, in around the start of summer. You can see that there's some water here. Now, this is a really popular swimming hole where people typically will go to cool off. However, you can see that due to the colour of the water and due to a lot of the different algae and things that are in the water, that it's certainly not a space that you would swim in at the moment. So how do you portray, or how do you then bring this information to a pool environment to educate them? I know that there's a lot of times when our pool water quality might not be great in a facility. Use it then. Talk about those activities, talk about these scenarios then. Talk about that it could be at the moment in our current situation. So before we even get into the pool, you could pretend that you are somewhere totally different and that we haven't been able to swim in the water for 6 months, and use that, transform them into maybe it could be the beach, and there is so many jellyfish around and stingers that it is actually not safe to swim. So how do we actually identify if it is now safe to swim? Get them to point out all the different things that they might do. Then also take them to an inland waterway or a different location. The other thing that you can do is you can talk about where is safe places to swim at the beach. Now, there's some really obvious ones there, knowing that there is a patrolled beach, okay, and in between the flags is a safer place to be able to swim. Ask them where's safe to swim at the dam. Now, that might be a bit of a trick question. I'd certainly encourage that dams aren't the safest place for us to be swimming for most of us. I'd ask them about a channel, if that's a safe place for them to swim as well. Again, we know that channels aren't a safe place for anyone to be swimming or recreating in. So ask them what safe means. Now, we know nothing is safe when it comes to the water, but what is safer and what can be a smarter decision that we can make as well. One of our most I would say one of the kids' most favourite activities is putting a life jacket and throwing a rope in, or a kickboard, or frisbeeing it across the pool to their other colleagues and other swimming lesson students. But do we actually teach rescues as well as what we can? Some of us have, I've seen some amazing things. I've actually seen some tree branches being brought in, you know, rolling up your towel and using that as their a way to be able to throw and rescue. And when I see that, my heart warms. It's amazing to be able to know that there is so many amazing swim teachers that are going and thinking outside of the square, putting themselves into an open water location of what they might find in those environments, and then bringing it back to the pool and bringing it into their suite of things and tips and tricks that they can bring, and making their class more creative. Now, this doesn't need to be done as part of Water Safety Week. This doesn't need to be done as part of something that is different or outside of your normal lesson. You could be doing freestyle, and you tap one of the students and say, I want you to start calling out for help and pretending you're in danger. So what would then happen? The first time, the students might not know what to do. But if you embed this and different activities and different scenarios like this at different times for any of your lessons, your students are going to start to become a little bit more savvier. And when something like this happens in a unpredicted situation, they may just have those skills that aren't learned through, here we go, throwing the kickboard in a real situation. So what I have done is I've put a whole lot of different things that you might find either at the pool, you might find at the beach, you might find when you're holidaying by the river, or that might just be sitting there when you're going for a walk, you know, of an afternoon. Some of these things will be there, some of them definitely won't as well. I don't think we're going to find some surfboards typically down at the river, but you never know. So it's really important for us to understand how to rescue someone and knowing the dangers that can be associated with rescuing someone. Unfortunately, throwing a rope and standing up, we know can create a lot of dangers. And those that do go in to rescue someone, we've seen, unfortunately, too many times in the media that they have unfortunately ended up as people that need to be rescued, or that may have drowned themselves due to putting themselves at that at-risk danger. So that's something that we really want to prevent. And also for people to know how to be rescued. So if someone was in a, let's say they were kayaking or canoeing down the river and they found themselves in the water, how do they actually position themselves safely? So how do you maybe, you could be doing some survival backstroke as part of your lesson, and you get them to all of a sudden pretend that they've fallen out of a boat or a watercraft. And what are they going to do? So if they were in the beach, what would that look like? If they were in the river, what position may they be in? And if you're unsure of what that is, this is where you get to be able to increase what you do as a swimming teacher. Find the answers out. Find out what you would do in that situation. Use your swimming teacher manuals that you may have from when you first started. Use the resources that we spoke about before. Speak to your colleagues and have a look to see what might be embedded within your curriculum as well. What I want to share with you is a little bit of a video on a number of facilities that expanded their learning and their knowledge about open waterways this summer. So in January, we looked at some areas that were at an increased risk compared to the rest of the state of their residents or those holidaying in those areas that had an increased risk of rate of drowning. And with that, it was a real concern to know that we've got some amazing programs that teach young people how to be able to be safer at the beach, about how to increase their life-saving and water safety knowledge and skills in those areas. But unfortunately, in inland waterways, we don't have as many programs or as accessible as we do in the coast available. So working with the Victorian government through the Public Water Safety Initiative, we have brought to life a concept called bush nippers. And with that, we worked with 4 local inland and regional councils. So one being Albury-Wodonga, where unfortunately that program didn't go ahead due to the bushfires. We worked with Ballarat, where we delivered the program with 3 different schools. We then worked with Aquamoves Lakeside Shepparton, where we delivered a 5-day program. My mind is going a bit sketchy now. A 5-day program in the pool using simulated open water experiences. And then we ran the program as well at Echuca, where in the Murray River. So 5 days working with the Campaspe Shire to be able to bring a program solely run around life-saving water safety knowledge and skills in an inland and open water environment. So what I'm going to share with you is a really short video on what this could look like. So have a think about what some of the things that you thought about throughout today's session, and have a think about where your skills sit, and is there any little nuggets of information you might be able to pick up within this video that I'm about to show you.
2020 kicked off with a new regional inland program called Bush Nippers, an adapted version of coastal nippers aimed at children aged 5 to 14 years. Funded through the Public Water Safety Initiative from the Victorian Government, Bush Nippers was developed in response to the increased drowning toll in inland waterways. These programs were in partnership with local councils and aquatic facilities, which were selected based on being the highest relative risk of drowning in the state. More than 400 children participated in both land and water-based activities, including learning skills like rescues, first aid, and understanding the risks associated with aquatic environments like river currents and submerged objects. The focus of Bush Nippers is about children participating in safe, fun, and organised activities in an aquatic environment to encourage them to become future community lifesavers.
I'd highly recommend this program to anyone who's interested. It's been just a wonderful program for families and for the young children of this age. It's fabulous.
To find out more, visit alisv.com.au/bush-nippers.
So that program was a really, really exciting program, and it's something that I'm going to share with you some highlights that we got from the program and some amazing learnings that we took away. So sometimes it's about us thinking outside of the box and what's possible. What can we actually do within our pool environment that typically we typically think can only be done in the open waterways? Well, what we showed is that, yes, the participants loved learning in the open water compared to the pool environment, but they absolutely loved what they did in the pool environment as opposed to what they'd normally be doing in and around the pool. We found after the survey that 100% of parents would recommend the program. And for us, that was amazing to know that those that are the clients, so they're putting the money forward and getting their children participating in these programs, that they saw the value and the reward from it as well. We had over 500 children participate in the programs, which was amazing to see that there is a huge demand for it and that there is a real need for more learning to take place in our inland waterways, but more so in our open waterways as a whole. We saw a increased knowledge and skills of participants, which is fantastic, and that's ultimately what we're looking to do. The other thing that we couldn't really measure as well, but we could certainly see the confidence of those that participated in the programs of day 1 through to day 5, and where their confidence and their adventure and their fears really subsided during that process, especially the ones that were in those open water environments as well. And most of all, we found that participants had so much fun. They absolutely loved it. And this was even on days when it was raining or the weather conditions weren't as favourable as we would like. And they really enjoyed meeting new friends and having fun. So what I would suggest to you is, how can you get involved? So that may be, what can you influence and do at your facility to either embed more open water activities, scenarios within your current program? Have a chat with your team, those around you, and see is Bush Nippers a program that can help that for you? It may or may not be. And what would it look like in your community? So if I think about where I live, I know that I've got the river running through, and I've got a number of different creeks that run through my area. I'm a little bit away from the beach, but not too far. But most of my community actually does holiday down along the Victorian coastline. So is this something that I might need to be looking to put more opportunities about the beach in my programs, or encourage them to be running a Nippers program? Or is this something that I need to be having a look at and going, we've got a real risk in our community and we need to do something about bringing bush nippers or nippers into our local community? From there, what I'd encourage you to do is send us inquiry. So if you jump onto lsv.com.au/bush-nippers, you can see some further information there, and there's an inquiry form that we'd really encourage you to send us through and let us know what it could look like for you, what more information you want, and let's start having those conversations. This is something that can be run in winter. It doesn't need to be a summer program. It can be a year-long program. It could supplement your swimming lesson program like a junior lifeguard program has or could have in the past, or it can interconnect well with that. So have a think about what could work for you, and I'm really excited to have further conversations with you if you would like.
Thanks, Trudy. That was awesome. Hopefully everybody got some tips and tricks out of that. And I was going to fly to some questions if anybody had any, but we're just checking the chat. Nothing's come through. I think it's Michelle, maybe from Kyneton. Not too sure, I could be wrong. Sorry, Michelle, if you're not. Falling in the river while fishing is quite common in their area. Bush Nippers looks great. Excellent presentation. Here's one. What age would be appropriate to teach CPR?
Oh, very, very interesting. We do have, with the Water Safety at Home series, we've got some basic CPR sessions that are taking place for the CPR for kids. So that might be a really great space to start. I think, I mean, I'm no expert in this category, but you can always start in teaching something. So getting them to understand how they may be able to call for help, or identifying the dangers and risks. So certainly jump onto the Water Safety at Home page and have a look at, there's some great sessions that have been done directed at children.
Awesome. I've got another question from Anna. Do you source teachers from local areas only? I'm in the city but would be interested in teaching bush nippers.
So that's amazing. Thanks, Anna. Basically, we, for the programs that we did for the pilot programs, it was important for us to use the local communities in delivering the programs. For a couple of reasons that they were the ones that were going to be around at that time of year. They were the ones that were engaged in the facilities as well. But certainly any interest in being able to deliver a bush nipper program, we're certainly keen to hear. So make sure you fill out an inquiry and send us an email.
Awesome. And I think that's it. That's pretty good. Well done. Great. Hopefully everyone got lots of ideas out of that. And for those who don't hang out in open waterways, have learnt something along the way as well. Well done. Thank you, Trudy.
Thanks, guys.
Next up, we have Rhiannon, who will share insightful and impactful information based on research as to how and why open water and inland waterways are different to pools, and the skills we teach and why we need to know. Hi, Rhiannon. Just a reminder to everybody, if you can turn off your videos and mute your mics as we go, that would be great. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. I'm just checking, can you hear me?
Yes, perfectly.
Great. Thank you so much, everyone, for being here today. It's really excellent to see so much interest in delivering open water skills to children during swimming lessons. It's something that's been coming along, I think, for many years, and I'd like to give you some perspectives from what's happening around the world and in Australia regarding what we know about open water skills being taught in the pool. So I'll just go to the presentation. Okay, so we just, oh, excuse me, sorry, I've just got to turn off my camera. So yeah, I'd like to talk to you about what you can do to transfer skills that are learned in swimming lessons into open waterways.
Sorry, Rhi, we just don't have your presentation up.
Sorry. Is that up there now?
Sure is.
Let me just do that again. Sorry, guys. All right, there, so you can see that now?
That's it. Great.
Fantastic. So just to give a little bit of background, as Trudy's already mentioned, drowning is a significant issue in Australia, and open waterways are a key area where people are drowning. Almost 4 in 5 in Australia drown in open waterways. So 276 people drowned in Australia last year, and the top 2 locations were rivers, creeks and streams, accounting for 29% of drowning deaths, and beaches were 26%. In addition, we actually had a further 584 people experience a non-fatal drowning incident, which took them to hospital, which means that in Australia last year, 860 people experienced a drowning incident. In Victoria last year, we had 56 drowning deaths, and the most interesting point here, I believe, is that almost half of those drowning deaths were a result of unintentional entry, which means that the person slipped, tripped or fell in the water or drowned trying to rescue somebody else. Looking at swimming in Australia, it's extremely popular. It is by far the most popular sport that children engage in. So it's amazing that we're having this opportunity to provide so many children with these opportunities to learn a lifelong skill. Our lifestyle and the number of pools and our success as the success of the Australian Olympic team all mean that it's a really desirable sport, and it continues to lead other sports. And the Learn to Swim industry obviously is a very competitive one, and many successful pools have over many years focused on swimming as a sport and teaching the skill, and that's what parents often, I'm sure you know, are asking for. So while these programs are conducted in the pool environment, as I've mentioned, typical locations for drowning incidents are open waterways. So I'd like to ask you this question. Are your programs giving students the knowledge to behave safely in open waterways? This is a quote from Robert Stallman, who is one of the leading drowning and swimming competency researchers in the world. He's based in Norway. And based on years of research, they've mentioned this quote here, which is, "The causes of drowning should dictate the way we teach swimming and what children should learn. Weak or missing skills, attitudes, or knowledge are causal elements in leading to drowning episodes." So as Trudy's given you a whole lot of great ideas around activities you can demonstrate or teach, I've provided this list here, which is based on, again, many years of research globally into drowning prevention and water safety, looking at the differences between learning swimming lessons in a pool compared to common drowning locations and scenarios. So looking at this list, think about how you could incorporate these aspects in the red columns. So, you know, most people are learning swimming in a pool where it's warm, they wear goggles and bathers, maybe a swimming cap, and they're intending to go in the water. Same as when they're on holidays, they know they're going to the beach, the weather's warm, they're preparing for that environment. But often when it's a drowning, there's an unexpected entry. We don't know what the water temperature is going to be. We may be wearing clothes, most likely not wearing goggles, and maybe wearing shoes as well. It might be dark, there's moving water, you can't see the bottom. The bottom also may be changeable. So all of these factors could be used as inspiration for what activities you could do. And the research shows that people may be able to deal with 2 of these factors in the red column in an unexpected entry into water, but any more than 2 of these could lead to increases their risk of drowning significantly. So I'm just going to talk to you a little bit about a study that LSV has done with YMCA to look at, do the skills learned in traditional learn to swim lessons work in open waterways? So what we did was we looked at 150 primary school students and we asked them to tell us how well they thought they could swim. We tested their water safety knowledge and we asked them how safe they feel in different environments. We worked with approximately 150 Year 5 and 6 students from 2 schools, and they were identified as areas of high risk of drowning. So the children did 9 swimming lessons, and then following the 9 lessons, they did an open water learning experience, which LSV runs. And so we used the traditional, the fairly typical program with a lot of focus on these open waterways skills. And as you can see from some of the images there's a bit more of a focus on creating the rip currents, using life jackets, and there are also rescues and things like that. So it was really looking at how these transferred into open waterways. And then they did the one-day OWL program as well. So what we found was that children doing swimming lessons did increase their open waterways knowledge and safety knowledge about rescues, and they also said they felt they could swim better. After doing the one-day OWL program at the end, they also said that they had increased beach safety knowledge and felt safer in different situations. So one of the schools did their program at the beach and one did their program at the river. And this sort of thing doesn't only apply to upper primary school. If you look at open water learning in younger groups, you can really start with the parent and child lessons. They're a fantastic way to introduce discussions on water safety and open water learning with the parents' eager ears on hand and our toddler and preschool curriculum. It sets the standard, and and they can demonstrate skills in the use of life jackets, recovery from unexpected falls, and even rescues. If you look at the results of this project, where beforehand nearly 80% of students weren't doing swimming lessons, they had a significant increase in their water safety knowledge. So imagine if children of all ages were participating in this kind of education throughout all life stages. I'd like to give a couple of examples. There were a few years ago a program run by LSV at a kindergarten, and a couple of days after the program that toured the kindergarten, one of the little children actually saved their younger sibling because they learned what to do in that scenario. Again, there's a similar program run by LSV and YMCA in Sri Lanka, and a young boy had done the 10-lesson survival swimming program in Sri Lanka, and he fell into an open well. He had never done swimming lessons before this program, and he was 10 years old, but he said that he learned how to rotate and float on his back and stay calm. That was the key thing he learned, was to stay calm and call for help. And without doing that program, he undoubtedly wouldn't have survived. When you think about these individual stories, that can really give some real inspiration and reasoning behind why we could move away from the stroke focus of lessons. While that is definitely important, all of these other skills are also, I would say, equally as important. So I'd just like to go back to this quote here and leave you guys with the challenge. I'd like to challenge all the program managers, swim teachers, and everyone else out there to look at your program curriculum and ask yourself, are the causes of drowning dictating the way that you teach swimming? So I would just finally like to say that we would like to go further with this research and look at their physically testing their skills and knowledge, and how this translates into different behaviours. But I'd like to thank Janelle, Bernadette and Kate for engaging in this research, and again thank everybody here for coming today, because I think it's really fabulous and really important effort to be involved in. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ree, for your fantastic presentation there. It's so fantastic to be able to understand that the research that you and your team have collected, as we can then share that with our families and with our communities, and also we understand the why behind why we teach what we need to teach. So a really big thank you there for your really great presentation. I'll just check the chat there. I'm not sure if we have any additional questions yet, but if anybody does have any questions or comments for the presentations that we've seen today, please do pop them in the chat. We'll just wait a few more moments just to see if there are any that pop up. Many thank yous there.
Oh, thanks, guys. I would like to also add that you're doing a fantastic job. We've seen a 33% decrease in drowning deaths among children 5 to 14 over the past few years. So hang in there, keep doing it. It's not just about swimming lessons. You're also saving lives out there. That's LSV's mission, and you're contributing to saving Victorians' lives with skills that they'll hang on to forever. So well done, everybody. Keep going.
Absolutely, very well said, Ree, and thank you so much again. So I think we will move on now. I'll hand it back to Jen, who will finish off our session.
Thanks, Caitlin, and thanks, Ree. That was amazing. I hope everyone learnt something out of today, hopefully quite a few things. Definitely in terms of drowning reports and stats, they're really important to not only use with your staff, but also your parents and your community. Really good for awareness. They're free, they're online, they're easy. There's the national report and the state-specific report. So they're really important to use and use them in your newsletters and socials and that sort of thing. So that's pretty much it for today. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you've got any questions, queries, concerns, you can email schoolswimming@lsv.com.au or give us a bell. Just a reminder that our survey is out and about, and we'll pop the link in the chat again. If you remember, 5 questions, probably take you no more than a minute. If you can pop that through, that'd be great. And thank you again for joining us. See you next week. Also,